Right, so in theory, we should be live, and this is the breakdown.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff Messer with Issues With, and we're doing a quick breakdown this morning, bringing on our good friend Jack and Kat, who both were part of the Heroes Con interviews that we did just a month ago at this point. We're right now, it is Thursday, and San Diego Comic-Con just started yesterday. I will be joining it in progress, as they say. Speaking of joining, let me bring in Kat and Jack. Isn't that a name brand of clothes at Target or something? Kat and Jack? I don't know. So, hey guys, are you out there? Are you with me?
Yep.
Hey.
Hi.
Look out.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Hey, good to see you.
Good seeing you too. Hope everybody's doing well on this wonderful day. So,
have you recovered from Heroes Con yet?
I'm actually at that point where I'm like, oh, I miss Heroes Con. It was so much fun. I can't wait till next year.
Yeah. I do too. It's been great keeping up with all the folks we interviewed, and kind of the social media interaction with everyone has been really, really super. Getting a lot of those folks we interviewed to jump over on the Issues With Facebook page, and you know, we're sharing some of the stuff that they're working on, and I feel like we made a lot of really good friendships and built some great relationships.
Yes, definitely. I 100% agree with that statement. Because Heroes Con it's that mix of seeing your great friends that you've networked before, and then meeting new people as well. So.
Oh, absolutely. There's a funny story. You guys might remember we ran into an artist who had a service dog, like a cute, I mean, this incredibly cute little husky puppy looking service animal with her. She was one of the artists there. She's going to be at San Diego Comic-Con. I'm going to go look her up. I saw that she's on the list for Artist Alley at San Diego. So,
how exciting!
Small world. So is Charles Vess, who we interviewed. He's going to be at San Diego as well.
Oh, okay, that's really exciting. Like, that's super cool that you guys are going to get to meet up again and talk and catch up within the month to see what's new and what's going on. That's super cool.
Yeah, I can't wait for them to run into me and then go, wait a minute, it's out of context, it's out of place. Where do I know you from? That's going to be kind of funny. Let's see if we can bring Jack into this conversation. Our handy dandy producer Jack is sitting over there, looking like he's in a hermetically sealed chamber. Wait, but do I see the Issues With banner logo? Oh no, I see it behind you there on the screen, Jack.
Like that's actually our overlay. Yeah.
Oh,
gotcha.
Cool.
Because we are using a new software that we're testing out for this particular run, and it allows us to do a couple fancy things, like we have a little ticker at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
That's right. They call that in the news world, CNN. I think they call that a chyron.
Oh, fancy.
The little thing that goes across the bottom of the screen there. I'm a big fan of the comedian Louis Black, and he said when they introduced that, he was on CNN one day, and he could see it on the monitor, and during the interview, he just started reading along with it. It frustrated the people who were hosting it, because he's like, you can only pay attention to so many things at one time. If you want them to watch, you don't want them to read. So he was reading it out loud to them.
That's funny.
Well, I can add stuff to it if we want to. I can just start typing stuff in there.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah.
Secretly coded messages and whatnot.
That's right. But so the big news, right, is Jeff.
Yes.
Well, I've got the mirror going the wrong way. But Jeff, see?
There we go.
It's not as easy as you thought. But so Jeff, you're.
And it's like the reverse image. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I can read your T-shirt, Jack, so I'm seeing it the right way.
Oh, that's just, it's a mind.
It's
it really is. All right, we've entered the Twilight Zone. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we could Brady Bunch it.
Yeah. Yeah. Who's up there? Who's down there? Right.
We are not mature enough.
We're not. Not even a little bit, and I love it. It's great.
It's a lot of fun.
But you're leaving today for the San Diego Comic-Con.
Yes.
There's real news.
Oh my God! Yes, I am leaving for San Diego Comic-Con in about 2 hours.
How are you feeling? Like, are you excited, nervous, or both?
I am completely mentally, emotionally, and psychologically unprepared for any and all of it. My wife was asking me. Other people have been asking me, say, "Oh, man, how you feel? How do you feel?" And I'm like, I'm trying not to think about it. I'm trying not to get into that headspace of I'm going to the Eisner Awards. I'm nominated for an award, which the Eisners are kind of like the Oscars of the comic book world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when I first heard I was nominated, I was like, this can't be right. There's been some kind of mistake. And then as luck had it, I was nominated. And I'm like, I don't belong in this room with all of these people, but
yes,
it's kind of cool. I mean,
for people who don't know, though, you're nominated for.
Yes. I have a copy of it
right
here. There you go. I'll fill the screen. This is the book. Hang on, let me get it right. There's the book.
Nice.
I co-wrote this book. You see my name on the bottom of it right there. Dewey Cassell with me. This is a book from Tomorrow's Publishing, hardcover. Came out last October. The life and this is confusing. The life and career of Mike Grell, Warlord is the one I think a lot of people know him from DC Comics, but also he's done Green Arrow. Oh my gosh, he's done everything over the years, and it's a book that's filled with lots of his art. Lots of his art, interviews with people he's worked with in the industry, just lots of great stuff. The John Sable character is another one of his more famous characters. So it's here's some Green Arrow for you right there, a little Green Arrow action for you.
Nice.
And it's just kind of a biographical book about his life and career. And a couple of years ago, I was asked by the lead author, Dewey Cassell, who had written a bunch of these types of books in the past. He was working on this one for Mike, and he just kind of asked me if I would jump on board and help him with it. And we finished it up, and it came out last year and has apparently been selling really well. And he got nominated for an Eisner, so I don't know. We'll see. Yeah,
you must feel like there has to be a part of you that feels proud. Like, I know you're like trying not to get in the mindset, but you have to feel like, wow, this is super.
A little jazzed, right? You have to be at least a little jazzed.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really is. I tossed and turned all night last night. It was the first time I did it. I let it creep into my mind a little bit, but it's one of those things where, when I was a kid, I was like 5 years old, and my grandfather just one day randomly at the corner market grabbed a comic book off the spinner rack, as it were, and brought it home and gave it to me. I was like 5. I'd never seen a comic book before. I'd seen like the Sunday funnies in the newspaper, and it was a book that was drawn by Mike Grell. So the first thing I'd ever seen was something that he had done. And as a result, as I became a collector, as I became a fan, I followed his career. I followed what he was doing, and he became a major influence on me when I became a writer, when I started writing and telling my own kind of stories. And as luck had it, I met him finally in 2011. I met him, and a couple of years later, he and I became really close friends. And so it's just one of those weird things where 5-year-old me would never believe that this was even possible. So there's a little bit of that.
It's funny how like small the world is, right? Like Jeff, you and I met when you were doing radio.
Yes.
You know, like I always, and even at the con when we were doing the interviews, you would hear the artists talk about like the odd connections and like I think it was like a person through a person.
Yeah, it was actually through two people, because two separate people from two separate worlds. Yeah,
bless the internet,
right?
Well, and social media, and thank God for social media, because we're on it right now. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, social media makes the world less personal," But I honestly think that social media actually brings us closer together.
Oh,
There are people I went to college with that I haven't seen in over 20 years that I'm better friends with now, thanks to Facebook and Twitter. And I also can keep track of all of my family and relatives without ever having to spend any time with them in person. So it's
exactly.
It's pretty awesome.
That's how I feel too. I'm like, whoo,
Yeah.
I get to talk to my mom, but at arm's length.
That's right. You know everything you need to know, and you don't have to spend any quality time with them. So
Exactly.
social media is pretty great, but it does. There's an interesting thing about it. It puts the fans, the creators, and the fans in much more direct personal contact.
Yeah.
And we saw this, gosh, almost 20 years ago now with music when Napster came along and all this downloading, and then social media came along.
The middleman.
Yeah, the middleman kind of went away, and now there are a lot of musicians and bands who, maybe they're not getting that $80 million Warner's contract that REM got in 1998, but they're more directly connected to their fan base, and they're still creating music because they have this direct pipeline. I think comic book creators are starting to come around to that same sort of thing, especially the older, guys and gals who we interviewed, a lot of them who they've been around for a long, long time. And the market these days is really oriented. I'm going to San Diego, which is kind of the temple of excess for this, but it's all about Hollywood and IP, and it's less about the creators and the original source material.
Yeah.
So, we met a lot of guys, Ron Randall, Carl Kiesel, Tom Grummett. We interviewed them at Heroes Con. These guys are making a huge impact in crowdfunding and social media, directly going to their fans. And they're prolonging their careers past the point that publishers are still hiring them, because their publishers are always looking for the hot new thing.
Yeah.
And these guys are still, they're raising 60, 70, even $100,000 in a Kickstarter.
And I was amazed how many, we'd be talking to someone and they would say it's going so well that they're going to start rejecting work from Marvel and DC.
Right,
because they're like, I don't need you anymore.
They would rather do their own thing.
Yeah.
And and I'm happy to say, my relationship with Mike Grell, I'm involved in some of that too. I helped him organize a Kickstarter that was insanely successful a couple of months ago. We're about to release the first book from this Kickstarter coming up. Actually, when I get back from San Diego, we'll send it off to the printers. Got a couple of things. I'm sort of serving as editor in name only in some instances on the project, but we'll put all the stuff to bed, as they say in the print industry, about this time next week, maybe next Wednesday, and it'll go to the printers. And like second week of August, we'll have this brand new book, mailing it out to the fans who supported it. 500 fans or so jumped up Kickstarter and supported it.
Well, that's something like maybe we should probably cover, is if, for people who tune into this now or later. So issues with the idea, it was Jeff's concept, and it was a simple, sit down and interview and get a personal experience of getting to know the artist. And then that expanded when we realized that we wanted more off the con floor, and we brought Kat in as a co-host. So she's, down there kind of rounding people up and getting them excited and coming up with the oddest questions possible. And now Issues With, on one level or another, is essentially supporting comic books, getting them published. Yeah. And it started with Jeff when you started Master Strokes. And now it's just sort of every time we talk, we realize that there's something else we could do, either for the fans or for the artists. Yeah. And that's always kind of been the core principle behind Issues With. I've had people hit me up I don't understand, what is it you guys are doing? And at the end of the day, we're supporting the artists, we're supporting the fans, and we're connecting the two. And we have to give a shout out to Elite Foundation and John Jones and our sponsors. Heroes.
There's a lot of interesting cross-pollination that's going on here from different places, different disciplines. John with Elite Foundation, he's got his thing going on, but he believes in what we're doing. And Jack, you and I, like you were saying, we met these guys at Heroes Con and interviewed them and found out more about the projects they were doing. There were a couple of those guys that were like, I have a dream project that I want to do. And we're like, wait a minute, we can get involved with this. Yeah. Not only bring awareness to it, but since, Master Stroke Studios is a publishing entity now that's about to go live, if you will, in the next couple of weeks. It's like, well, wait a minute. I have this infrastructure now on one part of my life that ties into this part of my life. And it's like, we can make some really interesting things happen, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, and I couldn't believe like these are guys like, and women, they're artists. As you're hearing them talk, or writers that you're like, I grew up on their stuff. I grew up reading their work and assuming they were these like godlike figures that weren't real people, you know.
Right.
On the untouchables.
Oh, I have this idea nobody wanted to do, and they tell you the idea, and you're like, who wouldn't want to read that? That sounds amazing.
Right.
And that kind of like, that's one of my favorite parts about this whole experience, doing the show so far, has been that we sit down with a lot of these artists and they start talking about, my table got set up next to so-and-so. I'm their biggest fan. And you're like, you're a fan of somebody? You're a god.
Exactly.
And other gods? That's crazy.
Oh, it's nuts. Yeah, I get to see Charles Vess geek out getting Don Rosa to sign a trade paperback of his of like the Uncle Scrooge stuff that Don Rosa did, you know, this classic creator and this sort of modern legend. And you know, Charles Vess was as geeked out as we were chatting with him, meeting this guy that had been such a hero to him. I mean, it's, you know, getting to know Mike Grell in recent years and getting to work with him. That's kind of what I've discovered is, you know, these people are sort of larger than life. But again, it's that social media thing. It's the world we're in now where the direct contact is so much easier. Yeah. And I think those people who embrace it are the ones who are succeeding more and more. There are a few comic book guys who are still, you know, curmudgeons. I saw Alan Moore yesterday announced that he was going to be retiring from writing comics, and I think I posted on somebody shared the article, and I posted a response. So now he can spend all of his time bitching about comics instead of writing, which I think he'll be happier.
Well, I couldn't believe that like Jan DeMatteis, after we got back, you know, was posting on Facebook and talking to us, and like, and clearly now that we met these people, I bet when they hear this, they're like, why is that a big deal?
They came in skeptical. They were like, what are you guys doing? Why are you doing this? And then once we did it, they were like, hey, this was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just kind of was impressed that, you know, so many of them support each other. I mean, they were so welcoming of what we've been doing. And again, for people who don't know, the show Issues With, we shot the entire first season at Heroes Con with the help of Sheldon from Heroes Aren't Hard to Find out of Charlotte. Yep. And we got a whole season done, but we can't show you guys any of that. That gets finished out and sold out to a distributor. So you'll see it eventually on one of your favorite streaming devices. But in the meantime, that's what these live streaming shows are all about. The breakdown is our chance to keep talking to you guys, to bring you interviews with artists, creators. We even have some of the actors from shows like Daredevil and The Punisher and Jessica Jones and Gotham and all these different things. And we're really like, the thing about the breakdowns, you can talk about anything basically.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we're going to be giving back to a lot of the fans. And that's one of the things that like we keep talking about, but we haven't figured out exactly the best way to give stuff away. So that's something I think we should discuss.
Tell them some of the swag that we collected at Heroes Con.
Oh, my office is full of it. And if we don't start giving more of it away soon, I'm keeping it.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, there's some really good stuff. We got some great stuff.
Yeah,
we have everything from, you know, just random comics, but we have like, there's a lot of reflection here, but we got Batgirl type figurines, and we have a bunch of those kinds of things. We have T-shirts.
I'm all about a T-shirt.
I know. We got we have a bunch. You know.
Yeah.
Like, we even had a company that, as we were getting stuff from them, they gave us a book bag, and they're like, "Oh, just give it away." So, and I think it lights up. If you can see that little.
Oh yeah, I can see that. That's super cool.
Yeah. So we've got stuff like that. We've got big figurine type stuff, and I think we just started putting it all in here because there's so much. But like,
you're drowning in swag, man.
You're not even like. I mean, we've got signed
art print. Yes, Dean Tripp. Yeah.
We have so much. I don't even know. Okay, so like this is one of the big ones in my opinion.
Oh yeah, Charles Vess signed the cover of
I did not know
Spider-Man
that.
#1. Yeah,
Oh, snap.
Fine. Yeah. We also got a bunch of Neil Adams prints.
Oh my God.
Gosh,
Yeah.
what else do we get?
There's a bunch of DC ones, right? But let me just go back to the full screen. This one I thought was pretty cool. If for no, and down here is his autograph. But if nothing else, this is so cool because he just announced that he is going back to do more X-Men.
Right.
Yeah, I did see that.
They're re-releasing all of that stuff in like a deluxe omnibus that he did. Yeah.
Autographed. Bravo. That's
From
a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's stuff falling.
So we got a lot of stuff to give away.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's not to be quite him, but this is one of my favorite items, right?
Right.
This isn't even one
that's
of the.
Not signed.
It's just a random.
That was the con program. We got everybody to sign it that we interviewed. Yeah. Yeah,
and I guess that's somewhere in this pile.
You better be careful before it all drops on you and you're stuck underneath all that stuff.
Yeah, if you don't hear from me for a week, look under all the swag in my office. But so yeah, we got those. What do you call these? The booklet, the pamphlets.
The con programs.
Program. I don't know these terms. So we had, I think there's 4 of the con programs, and every artist we interviewed signed them, and then Neil Adams, who's sort of our climactic finale episode, signed 1. So basically, we're gonna over the next year we'll be giving away 3 of these bad boys. My hand's there somewhere. 3 of these that have 11 autographs on them of artists that were at the con, and then we have 1 at the end of the year that we're going to give away that has all 12, including Neil Adams, and none of this will be on eBay. This isn't, we're not asking you guys to donate money. I don't know what you have to do, but you have to do something.
We'll figure it out for sure.
And I know that I think at some point we want to tell people in advance, like what they could win. So DC fans have a chance to hop on and try to win the DC stuff, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And we're still figuring a lot of that out as to why we're going to do it. I'm still going to be running around at other cons and grabbing interviews with people. I think I'll probably at San Diego get a few interviews this weekend. Oh gosh, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, let me.
That's one of my favorites.
Yes, I talked about that for like weeks. I was like, this is a must-see, must-have. Like it was. I mean, obviously, every story is a great story, but this one was the one that really got. Like, I don't know if you can see my nose turning pink as we're talking about it right now, because it's definitely one of the ones that was like, this is what it's all about. So
Dean Tripp, who did that, and funnily enough, I got the book, Something Terrible That Image is Out Of, and with that book, he had done the book through Kickstarter, which I didn't know until I bought the book, and then I saw, oh wait, he raised all this money to produce this book through Kickstarter. It's a book about him coping with having been sexually assaulted when he was a kid. And that poster, that image, is in the book. That he imagines Batman is his protector and his friend, and then Batman, instead of going to a dark place, Batman takes him into this place where he says, "You're safe here." And all of these heroes, and here's the great thing is, it's like there's DC, there's Marvel, there's Doctor Who, there's like Marty from Back to the Future, Indiana Jones, RoboCop is in there. There's all of these. It's every kind of pop culture reference, Star Trek, you name it. All of the heroes basically saying, "We're behind you, we support you, we're here to protect you," and finding that kind of solace and protection in the world of geek culture, it can be a lifesaver for people. And for Dean Tripp, it was a lifesaver, and it really changed his life. One of my favorite guys to interview, and Dean was so gracious. He and I are Facebook buddies now. We've chatted a bunch since then. He said to me afterwards, he said, this was one of the best interviews that I've done. thank you for letting me talk about this,
That's
for letting me
amazing.
be this honest. And I think a lot of people just go for the surface, but we're talking about 30 to 45-minute long interviews that we're doing. We really can go deep, and we can get more than just, what did you do on this issue of this comic, and so forth. Keith Giffen, who we interviewed with J.M. DeMatteis, told about a couple of stories about his grouchiness and his grumpiness, getting him kicked out of a pitch meeting at DreamWorks, and him calling Mel Gibson an a-hole on a conference call. It's like you don't get those kind of stories every day. Greg LaRocque told us the story about how he got blacklisted at Marvel for not adhering to their Marvel standards of artwork because he was being a little too dynamic for Jim Shooter's taste. And Greg's, in the interview, Greg LaRocque said, I've never told this story before. And that's what we want with Issues With.
Well, that's the great part about comic books. I mean, not necessarily that you've gone through such a traumatic experience like that, but you've gone through something, and comic books was there for you. Yeah. And I think everybody has their comic book saved me story or comic book, released me from reality story. And I think that's what resonates with everybody, no matter what experience, whether you went through like a super traumatic experience or just like something as like being bullied, even though it's still traumatic. It's not, it's different levels of trauma, and comic books was there for you. And then you hear the stories of people who are like not backing down from what they want in the comic books and having those arguments with the corporate people. So it's definitely
It's exciting. It is. Yeah, it's exciting to talk to these people.
One of the things that actually blew my mind was it LaRocque who said there was that rule, there was like a system of rules they would give you when you start working on a character.
Yeah.
And he was telling us that one of the rules was that Captain America can never fall through a trap door. And I was like,
these weird standards that they had. It's like you can never, it's just insanity.
And that's interesting.
And most of them had some story like that. Some odd. They're like, oh yeah, I really got into it with these producers over something, and you're like, oh, because you wanted to like change the character or do something dramatic. Like, no, I wanted Spider-Man to get punched in the face once, and
right. And it's like, no, you can't do that. Yeah,
Spider-Man can't be punched, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So weird. But yeah, it's fun talking to all these guys, and it's going to be so much fun. We're planning on shooting another season next year at Heroes Con. I guess I can spoiler alert it. We were at the end of the con. We were like, oh no. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no.
I don't even know what you're gonna say.
No, it's like we had we had time on Sunday. We had finished up, and we had time to maybe do one more interview if we had wanted, a 13th interview. And I was down on the con floor, just sort of looking to grab someone. And and we had talked about, let's grab somebody kind of fresh and young. And Chrissy Zullo was one of the people that I went to talk to, but she was like, oh, next year I'll do it. I'm going to remind her when I see her in San Diego. But I turned around, and there was Klaus Janson sitting at his table all alone with nobody around him. And Klaus Janson, he was the guy who inked Frank Miller's Daredevil and The Dark Knight, and he's a pretty big deal. And I'd met him a few years ago, and super nice guy. And I went over and chatted him up, and we were having a nice conversation, and I said, hey, look, this is what we're doing here at Heroes Con. We just filmed a whole season's worth. We got 12 episodes, but we've got enough time to do another. Would you at all be interested in coming up and hanging out with us? But he was getting ready to leave, and there wasn't enough time to squeeze it in and do an hour with him. And I could sort of see he was disappointed that he couldn't do it. And so he gets a card. He's like, give me that card. And I handed him a card on the table. He writes his personal contact info, and he goes, I'll be the first one next year.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so we've already booked one of our major kind of A-listers for next year just by accident. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's super exciting.
That's one of the things I think that impressed me most was we had so many people who were open to doing it, and were like, well, what about next year? Even if they did it this year, they're like, you guys gonna be here next year? And like, oh, we could do this, and we'd love to interact in this way. And I couldn't believe, like, at the end of Sunday, we had a set budget aside to buy things off the vendors to give away to you guys, the fans. And we went down on the floor, and it was like every vendor I went up to was like, "Oh, you're here with Kat, that show? Oh yeah, just take some stuff. Oh, are you here with that show? Oh yeah, just take some stuff." You know.
By the end of the weekend, everybody knew us. Yeah.
And they were giving me the stuff I was there to buy, and I was like, "No, it's not my money. It's in the budget. It's fine." And they're like, "No, here, take it." So I go, "Okay, well, I'll buy that then." And they go, "Okay, we can have that too." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm going to put money on your table and walk away."
Right.
Yeah,
Because we're here to help support you guys too.
Yeah.
I mean, we have like 6 or 7 or something like movie-sized posters. One of the big giveaways that I think is pretty cool. We may have to limit it because I don't want to mail it and get broken, but we have a glass-framed poster of the first cover appearance of Wolverine.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
The Incredible Hulk 181, I believe.
Maybe that's a local fan, pickup only.
Yeah, but it was like, I went up to people being like, "I want to buy a bunch of posters." And they were like, "Well, we'll cut you a deal." And I was like, "You don't have to." And they're like, "Yeah, we'll cut you a deal anyway." And I was like,
yeah.
"Well, then I'll buy more."
Well,
so
on Sunday, on Sunday, they're having, buy one, get one free deals because they don't want to haul it out of there. So, yeah, you get your best deals on Sunday.
Yeah. It's kind of back to that full circle of the social media connecting us. I've been going to Heroes Con. Oh my God, I can't even tell you. I forgot how many years.
Right.
It's great to network. And like I said, you go to Heroes Con and you're like, my friend. And then you're like, oh, my new friend. Yeah. So that's kind of where all of that just comes from. It's just getting to know these people, talking to them. And then they're like, oh, you're with Issues With? That's amazing. And then you tell them, even further what it's about. And they're all for it. They were just like, yes, 100% yes. And how can we help you? How can we, further this along if there's anything we can do to contribute? And it's through nurturing those relationships through social media, and just having that common bond of comic books and the love for comic books is pretty cool. It's nice to see it come all together for the greater good.
Nerds. The nerds.
Hey, look, the geeks have inherited the earth. It's all good.
It's about time too.
Yeah, exactly. Now they all want a piece of what we've got. It's all good. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's like so much we could talk about. I know that. I don't know about you guys. I'm excited. There's new X-Men comics coming out. And we can get into all that. And but I think we're gonna have to success the next run.
Yeah. Leave them wanting more.
I think you guys are starting to freeze up a little bit.
Yeah, we've outstayed our welcome.
The system's like, you've been talking too long.
It's like enough.
Yeah. But Jeff, I want to wish you luck at San Diego.
Say, have fun.
Thank you. Pictures. I'm gonna try to do some Facebook Live video streaming throughout the con, and especially at the Eisner Awards and at some of the booths. With I know there are a number of comic creators who are going to be there. Dan Jurgens, Paul Levitz, Marv Wolfman. Oh my gosh, just the list goes on and on. Frank Miller is going to be there somewhere, I think, although he canceled all of his autograph signing sessions, so maybe not. I don't know. Todd McFarlane, Kevin Smith, who I got tickets to. He's doing an event. He's doing an event tomorrow afternoon before the Eisner Awards that I got on Eventbrite and got free tickets to last night. So hopefully I'll get to meet him.
Lots of pictures.
Yes. I will be Facebook stalking you for those pictures too. So you better post constantly.
Look for pictures, look for videos, live, Facebook Live. If the signal is dodgy and I can't do it live, I'm just going to shoot video and I'll send it to Jack and he can throw video up on there. So, yeah. That's all good.
And I guess the big thing that I keep seeing online is people are like, oh, if you're going to San Diego Comic-Con, everybody and their brother finds out and starts sending you messages like, buy me one of these, try to get me this.
There's an exclusive that's like a little kind of one of those little plush. It's not plush. It's like squeeze toys. Jack, you've got a baby. You know how this works. There's little kind of rubbery squeeze things, and it's a dumpster fire.
It's the dumpster fire. Yes,
the dumpster fire exclusive is at San Diego Comic-Con.
And then I saw the price and I was like, oh, not yet.
I know. But but they're selling little rubber dumpster fires.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
I want one, but
I think I've got access to the Walking Dead experience too, which is like they've set up a whole mini camp. It's like, yeah, you go in. It's like this whole experience, like a haunted. Yeah. So who knows? But I'm not going to be.
Experience of like you're not allowed to shower. You get chased.
Exactly.
Some blood gets on you.
3 days at a con normally. So, but anyway, and I'm probably not going to sit in the camp out line for Hall H, which sucks because that's where all the cool stuff happens. But I've already seen live video and live photographs of the line, and it's like these people are crazy. I mean, I love them, but they're crazy. It's like, they're sleeping in line so they can get into the Kevin Feige or. There's probably going to be a Star Wars presence. They're very cagey. They don't tell you a lot about programming until you get there.
Is that where they show like the big like teaser release stuff? When you always see like after the con, they'll post like a teaser for a movie nobody knew about, which that's in there.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it. A lot of exclusive behind the scenes stuff, but it'll all come out. It'll all be on YouTube next week. So.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. And a lot of it, I think, is streaming as well. I don't know how much, but if you're paying attention, you can watch a lot of San Diego stuff.
Oh yeah,
as it happens.
Well, we'll be living vicariously through you.
Yes,
I hope you win.
Yeah,
I do too. Hey,
I will be cheering for you. 100%.
Thank you. Yeah. Send it up to the clouds wherever.
I got money riding on this, man.
Oh, geez, no. Hopefully not much. I don't know. It's like 1 in 5 odds. I mean, 20% chance.
That's pretty good.
It's in the bag.
I can hope that the other categories like split the votes, and I wind up with one of those, Jesse Ventura for governor kind of scenarios.
It's trying to sound really political.
I know. But it's like the more popular ones split the vote, and then I slip in as the also ran.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Either way, I'll take it.
It's good that you have a plan B, so I'm glad.
Yeah. I hope there's an open bar too, so whether I win or not, I'm going to say
plan B is a drink.
Drink.
Yeah.
Well, have a good time.
Thank you guys.
Have a safe trip and have fun.
This was fairly successful. There's a few bugs I probably need to work out, but
hey, this is the best one of these that we've done so far. And now watch, you didn't hit the transmit button, and it's just we've been talking to each other.
Yeah, no. People are like, I've been chatting and
good.
I've been getting messages, so people are seeing this for better or
for better for worse. There you go.
I don't know.
All right.
But yeah, so have fun this weekend, and sometime in the next week or so, we'll do this again, and
absolutely,
we might have an actual guest, and maybe I'll keep my head off screen. Let's see.
Who knows? Maybe I'll find us a guest this weekend at San Diego. Yeah, I'll find us
like watching a struggle. Like,
who knows? It's weird. It's all right.
We've had too much fun. Well, Jeff, I'll let you do a sign off.
Thank you, guys.
I appreciate everybody tuning in.
Hey, this is Jeff. Thanks to Jack and Kat. This was a breakdown. Issues with. Check us out. Follow us. Down there's the stuff. Down there at the bottom. Go follow us. Go find out more. And hey, if you see me in San Diego, come and say hi. All right. We'll talk to you guys soon.